First, we're going to talk about planning for Microsoft 365 apps deployment. For reasons that are probably obvious, network bandwidth usage typically goes up with Microsoft 365 deployments. To accommodate this, one best practice is to configure firewalls to limit overhead for connections to Microsoft content delivery networks, for example, by skipping packet inspection and other more resource intensive security measures. Microsoft maintains an up to date list of all of their CDN's IP addresses at the URL you see on the screen. The list is formatted as JSON data, making it easier for admins to develop automated solutions that get their data from this URL. The Office Deployment Tool, or ODT, can also help with connectivity management because it allows you to install or update the Office applications, either from local network shares or from the Microsoft CDN. The ODT is a command line tool that gives you finer grained, scriptable control over your Office installations. You can use a config file like the one you see here to control things like the products that are installed and the languages in which they are installed, and what the update strategy will be. And all of this can be done silently if desired, so the users remain unaware of the installation. Most modern organizations rely on their employees having significant levels of access to content and functionality via their mobile devices. To support this requirement, Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams, OneDrive, and OneNote are all available from both iOS and Android. If desired, all of these applications can be installed directly from the appropriate app store for the user's platform, or they can be pushed to user devices via Intune, which provides better management in bring your own device environments. Office Online is Microsoft's cloud-based Office suite. Although the cloud applications are not as complex or expressive as their desktop counterparts, Office Online provides basic functionality for a variety of Microsoft Office applications through a supported web browser. The implication for admins is that Office Online has the potential to change user workflows, potentially reducing the need for desktop installed applications. Desktop Analytics is a cloud-based service that integrates with Configuration Manager as part of Microsoft 365's Endpoint Manager solution. The purpose of Desktop Analytics is to assess application risk. The risk in question here is the risk that an application will not work as expected after an organizational upgrade to Microsoft 365. The risk levels are low, meaning that the application is likely to work after the upgrade; medium, meaning that the application may have some impaired functionality after the upgrade, though remediation may be possible; high, meaning that the application is unlikely to function after the upgrade; and unknown, meaning that the application was not assessed and no determination can be made. To do its job, Desktop Analytics uses the Microsoft App Compatibility database to identify known issues. It can also analyze application health status, measuring indicators like percent of devices with crashes, which is the number of devices where a specific application has crashed in the last 14 days, as a percentage of the total number of devices on which the app is installed; mean time to failure, which is the average elapsed time between application crashes on each device over the past 14 days; active devices, which is the number of devices where a user launched a specific app within the past 14 days; and total usage duration, which is the total time that the specified app has been used during the past 14 days. Setup of Desktop Analytics is done via the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center. Setting it up requires licenses of Configuration Manager and either Windows 10 Enterprise E3 or E5, Education A3 or A5, or Virtual Desktop Access E3 or E5. And here's an example of a Desktop Analytics report. It provides a visual representation of the state of the devices and applications in your organization. It's also worth noting that Desktop Analytics is itself nearing end of life. In the future, its features will be incorporated directly into the Microsoft Endpoint Manager Admin Center. Another thing to assess when preparing to deploy Office 365 into your organization is the state of any current Office-based solutions, with an eye to features that could lead to loss of function when you deploy. For example, if your organization uses any business-critical Visual Basic for applications, macros, and add-ins, they might not be compatible with the current version of Microsoft 365 apps. You can use the Readiness Toolkit for Office add-ins and VBA to identify compatibility issues. It's free to download at the URL you see on the screen, and next I'm going to show you a quick example of how it works. Now we're going to take a look at using the Readiness Toolkit. So I've downloaded and installed the most recent version of the Readiness Toolkit for Office add-ins and VBA, and I'm currently pointing it at a directory here called Office Documents that just has a bunch of Word and Excel documents in it. I want to generate an Excel report as opposed to a SQL Server report. I don't want to conceal the file names and paths. I do want to scan everything for Silverlight or Flash controls because, of course, that's becoming more and more of an issue as those things have been deprecated and might represent security concerns. I want to do an advanced report where I'm including VBA macro remediation advice, and now I'm going to create the report. It now goes and scans the directory. It ultimately finds 310 documents, it should be anyway, by the time it. Yep, and then it sits there and analyzes, and now it'll generate my report. And my demo glitched right at the end there, but I did get a report. So this is what the final screen of the Readiness Toolkit would look like normally, and it gives you the option of opening the report in Excel. Here's what the final report looked like. So here's the main page of the report. You can see it says that 306 documents were processed. Of those 306, 300 didn't have any macros. 3 couldn't be analyzed. 3 have VBA macros, and I can now go and look at the VBA readiness report to see the details. And as you can see, currently I don't have anything too much to worry about here. I have 3 unique macros that were detected. And if I go and take a look at the VBA summary, it shows the documents that contain the macros, and also has some things that are sort of labeled the severity of the potential problem. If I look at the VBA results page, it tells me like here are things that couldn't be accessed, and then everything else it just says, if we look at the guidelines here, everything else is just no issues detected. So there were a few things that couldn't be accessed, a couple of things that had VBA in them, and nothing else to worry about. If I had anything with concerns, it would show up here on the VBA remediation page with potential solutions for whatever is wrong with the VBA macros that were detected. One administrative decision that should be made early is whether or not users are permitted to do self-service installations of the Office applications and which ones they can install. This configuration is done in the Microsoft 365 admin portal under Org Settings. The admin can decide which apps should be available for installation, and there are separate settings for Windows and Mac machines. Another thing to determine is the schedule on which users get their Office applications updated. The default is that they get updates as soon as they're ready. This is the recommended option, and it ensures that users always have the most current versions of everything, but they might get more than one update per week, and there's no set schedule. If your organization would prefer a more predictable schedule and fewer updates, you can choose to receive updates once a month, and your updates will arrive on the second Tuesday of every month. And for cases where your organization requires extensive testing before updates are deployed, the semi-annual enterprise channel pushes updates on the second Tuesday of January and the second Tuesday of July. Office Telemetry is a compatibility monitoring framework that is built into Office 2013, 2016, 2019, and 365. The Telemetry dashboard is a special Excel workbook that provides configuration and viewing of Office Telemetry components. The Telemetry dashboard includes instructions and links to set up monitoring, which configures a database and system components. Once configured, the Telemetry dashboard provides reporting on inventory, usage, and health data about the Office documents and solutions used in your organization.